Lejano. Vice Presidential Bet Sara Duterte felt overwhelmed with the warm welcome she received during the Uniteam rally in Lipa City. Mayor Sara even stopped mid-sentence to collect herself after seeing the size and energy of the crowd during their sortie. Despite turning emotional, the president's daughter refused to shed a tear.
Galing ako Mindanao, galing ako Davao City, pero damang-dama ko yung pagmamahal ninyo sa amin dito sa Batangas. Naiiyak po ako, pero ayokong umiyak kasi baka ganyan yung mga kapag umiyak, magiging meme ninyo ako.
Though front-runner Ferdinand Marcos Jr. is still leading survey numbers, experts say the fight is not yet over, as runner-up Leni Robredo is statistically still in the race. Mobile journalist Pamela Vasquez has the report.
In Octa Research latest presidential preference survey, presidential aspirant Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has maintained his lead with a vote of more than half of the respondents. Other than his wide lead, it can be noted that 43% of those are considered hard votes, leaving some 14% which may still be swayable.
43%, even though it may still be enough to win, it's not as daunting, kumbaga, as the 57%. In a sense, parang it gives you, as other candidates, a sense of baka possible pa.
This might be a boon for Vice President Leni Robredo, who is a far second with 22%. Another Octa fellow, Professor Ranjit Rai, said we can't rule out just yet a Robredo win.
One can argue that VP Leni's numbers have improved since February, but the improvement, while significant, seemingly at this point it has not bridged the gap. Well, we can argue that it is still mathematically possible. It's an uphill climb.
The recent survey also shows improved optics for Robredo in Metro Manila, where the gap is slimmest between her and Marcos Jr. Rai added that while it's possible to turn things around, Robredo's camp would have to exert more effort in the remaining weeks of the campaign.
There are pathways and there's still time to campaign, and that these numbers will change. No? But the gap is quite significant, and so it will be an uphill climb.
Meanwhile, Manila Mayor Isko Moreno and Senator Manny Pacquiao's ratings dropped to 9% and 7% respectively, while Senator Ping Lacson's went to 4% from 3%. Octa is now working on their final pre-election survey. With 3 more weeks remaining before the May 9 polls, one thing's for sure, it's going to be a tough battle for the soft votes. Mobile journalist Pamela Vasquez, We Are One News.
One analyst says presidential candidate Isko Moreno's outburst at their Easter press conference was a miscalculation on his part. UST political science professor Dennis Coronacion told the big story that Moreno's remarks have turned some supporters off. Because of this, Coronacion said the mayor's campaign seems to be losing more steam after his harsh statements against Vice President Leni Robredo.
He's trying to replace number 2, but I don't know if it's going to succeed since we have already seen the immediate response of the supporters of Vice President Leni Robredo. They got turned off, and some are even saying those who are supporting the mayor some of them have already become disgusted and they do not want to vote for him anymore. It's a miscalculation on his part.
Coronacion also said that Moreno might be less keen on controlling his statements since he simply has nothing to lose.
And if we're going to base it on the survey numbers alone, we can see that his campaign is not doing good. So I suppose that would mean that Mayor Scott Moreno is his mindset is that he has nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Right, and he could do anything to upend what would have been a losing battle for him.
A political science expert describes the Easter press conference held by some male presidential candidates as the worst of its kind in election history. Speaking to 1PH sa Totoo Lang, UP political science professor Jean Franco says the press con will always be marred with gender issues, as it showed male presidentiables ganging up on a woman who also has her own credentials. Franco noted that many voters criticized the press conference, as those who participated were pulling down the number 2 candidate instead of survey frontrunner Bongbong Marcos.
Lahat ng nandun nawalan. No? It was, sa akin, sabi ko nga, talagang it will go down in history as one of the worst press conference during elections. No? One of the worst press conferences during elections. Kasi it was ill-conceived. The timing was also not right. Easter Sunday, people were celebrating, and then, out of the blue, you said that you have an important thing to say. It was such a letdown because wala namang bago, diba? And also, of course, the optics of men. Alam mo, kahit ano pa yung intention nila, maaaring hindi talaga nila intention na sinasabi kasi hindi siya gender issue, no?
In the same program, Franco says all male candidates who joined the Easter press conference lost some votes. She says the candidate whose numbers were least affected by the move was actually Marcos Jr.
Ang pinaka unscathed doon sa press ko na yon, si Marcos Jr.
Yes.
Which fuels the suspicion among some people that are they helping Marcos Jr. No? Pero meron ding mga pwedeng leaning towards the candidates who were there that might have turned off. Kasi kung I've always believed that Filipino men are gentlemen, di ba? So parang to actually sort of gang up on the lone woman candidate, I'm sure a lot of Filipino men must have found it weird.
The mother of all smuggling. That's how Albay Representative Joey Salceda described the Agriculture Department amid the allegedly rampant smuggling of agricultural goods in the country. During the latest House and Ways Committee hearing, Salceda probed the 45 billion peso tax that was not collected over some imported oil sourced from Malaysia. This as the oil was officially declared as animal feeds at the Customs Bureau. But Salceda refused to blame the BOC for this error, as the lawmaker believes that the DA is liable since they're the ones issuing import permits.
So 80% of our problem is DA and only 20% is customs. What kind of attitude do you have with respect to protecting farmers against nefarious activities by smugglers depressing their prices and, of course, undermining the volume of their sales?
Authorities evacuated the U.S. Capitol building after a plane dropped parachutists at a baseball game, sparking a security scare. The U.S. Capitol Police assured the public that there was no real threat and that they only evacuated the building out of a, quote, abundance of caution. Authorities added that the plane was just a military aircraft carrying members of the U.S. Army's Golden Knights parachute demonstration team, and they were dropped via parachute into the Washington Nationals baseball stadium less than 2 kilometers away from the Capitol building. Residents who remained in Ukraine's eastern city of Kramatorsk are braving attacks by Russian forces to get food and essentials.
Смотрите, многие потеряли работу. То есть у меня предприниматель, он уехал. Мы остались без работы, без средств к существованию. Деньги, которые были, все потрачены. Пока вот как-то пытаемся так помогают вот благотворительные общества. Вот это вот церковь. Почему остаюсь? Потому что это мой родной город. Я здесь родилась, у меня здесь похоронены родители. Я не хочу никуда уезжать из своего родного города.
То ли инвалиды есть в семье, то ли, может быть, ну как много очень людей, которые пенсионеры, и они остались без пенсии. Много людей, которые остались без работы. Прежде всего, вот этим людям оказываем помощь. Очень много пожилых людей, очень много. Ну и, конечно же, когда с детьми многодетные, ну там, конечно, мы очень хорошо им продуктовые наборы большие складываем для детей. У нас специальное детское питание, яблоки. Вот это никак не готовимся. Как нам надо готовиться? Я не знаю, мы купили продукты, какие у нас есть еще, ну как только война началась. И выехать мы не можем, да, и я как бы и не хочу. Вот. Не готовимся никак. Морально нам тяжело, конечно, осознавать, что такой факт может быть, но...
And those are the top stories at this hour. Join us again later at 11 a.m. as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. You can also catch One News on Signal Play. Just register for a free account at www.signalplay.com so you can stream One News live anytime and anywhere. I'm Charles Lejano. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. We're One News.